Would you like to live your best life possible, regardless of your imperfections? Discover cutting-edge tools and inspiration to let go of your limitations and expand your life beyond what you've ever imagined. On Imperfect, Brilliance, we help you tap into your unique gifts and talents, uncovering and letting your brilliance shine. Join Certified Facilitator and Coach Betsy McLoughlin as she delves into different areas of your life to get unstuck and create the life that is truly possible for you. Betsy has changed her life by utilizing the tools and techniques she is sharing with you. What if your willingness to acknowledge your brilliance is the catalyst to creating a new reality? When you stop judging you, what else can you create in your life and in the world? Join Betsy live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern to create magical and joyous possibilities for an hour of laughs, questions, tips, and more. We are excited to contribute and play with you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I know I don't sound like Betsy. It's a trick. My name is Venus Castleberg. We are here at Imperfect Brilliance, and today I have the privilege, the honor, and the absolute joy to introduce your normal host, Betsy McLoughlin. Hello, Betsy.
Hello, Venus.
So, just for those of you who are listening and like, what's going on here? It was my idea to just like, what would it be like if we interviewed Betsy? Because she's always so great at interviewing people and, you know, sharing other people's gifts and talents to the world. And I know Betsy has amazing talents and abilities as well. So we are going to put her in the spotlight today. Thank you for your willingness to do that, Betsy.
Well, I thank you. And I was so floored, you guys. Like, truly, she sent me a voice message and said, hey, I have this idea. And it honestly brought me to tears of just gratitude that you had that idea and you were willing to do it. And so I'm super grateful.
Mm-hmm. So today we're talking about bodies. And I wanted to just hear, let's hear a little bit of your background, your history with your body, Betsy. Like, has it always been ease for you?
No. Not at all. I really have had pretty much a lifetime of a lot of struggle with my body, and from a very young age, I was put on a liquid diet at the age of 10, and I think even before then there were some other things that were projected at me and that I, really thought as true for me and my body, and I just set myself up for most of my lifetime of thinking that it was hard, it was struggle, and I forced my body to do a lot of things that weren't all very kind to her. So, yeah, it's definitely not been a thing of ease for me.
So if you don't mind us going there, I'd love, what liquid diet at 10? Can you say more about that?
Oh, and it was this horrible tasting stuff. And, my mother had just decided that I needed to lose weight. And I just so vividly remember this white bottle being by the sink in the kitchen. And I would have to drink, somehow get this terrible tasting stuff down. And that was pretty much what I was allowed to eat. I think I had maybe one meal a day or something. I don't honestly remember. I just remember the thing I remember the most is how horrible it tasted. And the other thing that just vividly stands out is how deprived I felt. Everybody else was eating normally, and I wasn't allowed to. So and then I went to a place of resentment and at how come, so I had resentment at my body. I had resentment of everyone else that they got to eat what they wanted and I wasn't allowed to, just all those things.
Wow. So did you think that you were overweight at 10?
Well, I believed that I was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought so. I think like looking back at pictures and stuff, I think I was kind of maybe a little chubby, but nothing that was something that really warranted a liquid diet.
Right.
Yeah.
At 10. Like that, I mean, when you say 10, I go 10 years
10.
old. Like, folks, think about when you were 10 years old being put on a liquid diet because you were too fat. I mean, you're 10. I mean, like, you hadn't really grown. You hadn't, like you were 10. Wow.
Right.
And then you said you felt like you had a lot of stuff projected at you. Will you tell us about that? Because I know there's people out there that are going, I can so relate. Like, my mom told me I was fat. I thought I was fat because all the other kids, like, whatever that was. Yeah. So what was projected at you?
Mm-hmm. So much of that, and a lot of it was said to me as well as just what I picked up on, intuitively. So what was projected is, that nobody would love me if I was fat, that, I was just doomed for a lifetime of failure and struggle with weight. Let's see, what else? Just like you can't be happy if you're overweight. And the list goes on and on and on. Those are just what's popping in these 5 seconds. But
So did your parents struggle with weight?
Well, interesting. My mom, I guess she did. She kind of went up and down a little bit. I never really considered that she was that overweight. She definitely had a lot of issues with her own body and body image and everything. And my father was just kind of an average size guy. I think at one point he might have been a little bit heavy, but not, again, nothing that, would have the doctors really worried about them. So it was just, now I know so much more, and I realized that what was being projected at me actually had nothing to do with me. But because it was, because I was so aware of it and it was being said to me, I thought, well, it's got to be me. I mean, who else would it be?
Right. Well, and we're all, like, that's what most of us know or think, that, like, if somebody's saying something to me, it's about me. And, and it's not about actually them and their own journey. So do you know if and I'm just kind of going back because I want to unravel this a little bit. Do you know if your grandmother, like, had stuff that she projected at your mom? Do you know any of that history?
That's a great question. I really don't. She's never talked about that piece very much. So I know that my mother's brother actually passed away when he was, I think, like 10 or 12 or something, and she always felt like they wanted her. They had wished that it was her instead of him. So, and then when he died, they really withdrew, and it affected the family dynamics a lot. So, what piece in all of that might have been body stuff? I'm not sure.
Right. But it just goes to show you, folks, that, like, people will blame you for what they themselves are struggling with, what they themselves are going with. They're like, project this stuff, and we often don't know where it comes from. So the reason why I asked Betsy that question was because, sometimes people, like, do suffer from abuse because they were abused, and then they abuse, it's like this chain reaction until somebody breaks the chain reaction.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
And so what was it like, let's say, like, in your teenage years? What happened then?
Well, I was a competitive tennis player, so I did a lot of exercise, a lot of running, training, all of those things. And even with the amazing amount of exercises doing, I still had, I wasn't as small as I think everybody wanted me to be. I certainly was not overweight. And again, like how much of all of that was projected at me by the coaches, and you're supposed to be this certain size. All of those things. I was a very athletic body, and I was never going to be like a Twiggy. And yet, that was what was projected at me. So I tried really hard to try to find that kind of body. And of course, it wasn't gonna happen.
Right.
So that was, during that time and my competing and traveling and everything, it was just a different focus on my body and what, so I guess that's just the easiest way to say it. It's just it kind of was a different focus on my body at that point.
But still with this, like, in the background, I'm too heavy for this sport, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
Underlying. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And then, so you get into your 20s, you're still thinking, how are your 20s?
Mm-hmm. So then I had really kind of gotten burned out with the whole competitive tennis and, just all the travel and losing a lot of social life and all of that thing. So then I wanted to just kind of have what I thought was a more normal life. So I got married very young, and then I thought that was going to solve my problem. And it didn't. And then I turned to food, which I always had as a comfort. But then when I was on my own, I turned into, I didn't turn into, because I'd already kind of always been, but a secret eater, a binge eater. And then it just escalated. And because I wasn't exercising anymore and I wasn't really worrying about all of that piece, the weight started really piling on my body. And then that turned, then there was a whole thing of my anger at my body, and then I started having some health issues. I had several different things that went on, so then I couldn't exercise, and then I would eat, and so it was just this really huge cycle of self-abuse with my body.
So what were some of, because I really get that, like, there's people out there that have struggled with weight, that we've all struggled with injuries, like, right? And so what were some of the things that actually happened so that you couldn't exercise, so you couldn't move your body?
Oh yeah, I had a couple of different surgeries, and then I also had, as time went on, I just had a lot of body pains, and as I got larger, it was more difficult to move, and so that kind of exacerbated the body pains. And then I was going to doctors to try to get fixed, and they couldn't really find anything wrong with me. And then they told me I had fibromyalgia, and then they were pumping me with, well, take this drug and do that drug. And, I was like turning into a zombie, and I didn't like that feeling at all. And, so the weight was piling on, the depression was more and more rampant, and I was just like, and years went by, and I was miserable in my marriage, and it just was like this whole thing is like, God, this is terrible. This is not how I want my life to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you just mentioned marriage. So how about when did you meet your husband, and where were you, like, body image wise?
Yeah, I met him in college, and he left me when I got big. He was like, I'm not attracted to you anymore. So, and that's what he told me. And he walked out, and that was, we'd gotten married, I think I was 20. And we were married for about 8 years, I think. And I was, we weren't happy together. And I was begging him to please stay and let's go to counseling and all those things. And he was like, nope, I'm done. I'm out. And so it was a really, really devastating time.
Right. Yeah. And
wow.
you couldn't move.
No.
Yeah. Well, and Betsy, thank you so much for sharing this story, because I know you're not alone. There's so many people that have gone through stuff like this, and that just like are like, there's no hope, that kind of desperate feelings. And there is way more to this story, but I know we're about to take a break. Yeah. So we are going to come back after. We're going to come back after the break and dive in even deeper. And thank you, Betsy, for your vulnerability and willingness to share this story.
Whew, thank you. Thank you.
I'll be right back.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Are you looking to change anything in your life, to have an even greater appreciation of everything around you? Would you enjoy having a life of more joy and greater abundance, and explore what is possible for you? My name is Betsy McLoughlin, and I invite you to explore simple and pragmatic tools that I share on my radio show, Imperfect, Brilliance. I know firsthand that you can change anything. We explore tools and questions with amazing guests, offering all kinds of conversations on living your best life. I invite you to listen in Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern to Imperfect Brilliance. Consider a coaching call with me, and let's explore what you would like your life to be like. Visit my website at www.creatingyumminess.com, and you're invited to call in to Imperfect Brilliance with your questions, Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. I look forward to connecting.
COVID-19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Do you feel like your emotions are all over the place? That's normal during this abnormal time. There are a number of ways to cope. Maintain a healthy routine, get enough sleep, eat nutritious food, and exercise at least 30 minutes each day. Schedule some time to talk with a friend or family member. And remember, you can always take a few deep breaths to feel more centered.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Hello and welcome back to Imperfect Brilliance. My name is Venus Castleberg, not usually your host, but your host for today. And we are interviewing and talking to Betsy McLoughlin. Welcome back, honey. So, Betsy?
Oh, yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I can now. Great. Right before the break, you said your husband left you because you got too big. So then what happened?
Yeah. So I went through a period of devastation and depression, and, then got myself, was like, okay, well, this is my new life. So what am I going to do? And just started really rebuilding. I thought I was going to be married forever. And it really wasn't, my parents had been miserable, but they were married, and I was like, well, I guess that's kind of just my lot in life. I'm going to have a unhappy marriage, but that's what you do. And so it, you just create a new life with And so that's what I did.
So you kind of picked yourself up, but you were still struggling with weight.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, like, what happened in your 30s?
Okay. So actually started. Let's see. I met my husband, my second husband, and we became pregnant, and I had a child, and my weight really skyrocketed after that. Just went more and more with the same things I described, and more health issues and more just out of control eating, and the weight really piled on.
Okay. Can we back up just a little bit, because I'd love it if we can get really personal here. In your 20s, when your husband left you, how much did you weigh?
Gosh, that's a good question. I'm not sure I know the answer anymore. Because that's one thing, like at least for me, I really kind of tried to ignore the size of my body and how much I weighed. I would say probably, maybe like probably about 300 pounds, somewhere around there.
Okay. And then you met your second husband, you were still 300 pounds?
Maybe had lost a little bit of weight. I think I was like mid 200s, somewhere in there, like 250, 260. So I had dropped a little bit of weight, and I was kind of feeling better about myself. And so that was probably about the size I was then. Yes. Okay.
And then you had your child, and you said it skyrocketed. What did it get up to?
Yeah, so I got, when I was pregnant with him, I actually had toxemia towards the end, and, I'm just I don't even know if that had anything to do with it or not, but just looking back on the timeline, that's kind of when it really even went higher. So let's see. At one point, this is over many years that we're talking.
Right.
But, at one point at my highest weight, I was 500 pounds. So it had really piled it on. And so I just kind of got to the point where I couldn't walk. And, I would go on diets, and then I wouldn't be on diets. And, I was kind of doing the either or thing, where it would be, and then it was all kinds of different drastic things. I could tell you about.
What are some of them? Yeah.
Plans.
Yeah. Tell us some, because.
Well, I did Weight Watchers. I did Atkins. I did medically supervised diets. I think there was even this one thing, some kind of hormone injection. I did tests where they were testing for allergies. You name it, I probably tried it. And then there was I also did liquid diets where, you basically are on a medically supervised fast for 90 days, and you can, you drop a lot of weight in that time. And I actually didn't want to come off of it, and they made me. I was like, please, I'm doing so well. I didn't want to come off of it. And they're like, no, you have to. So it was just, it was like this roller coaster of up and down and up and down and up and down. And when I would lose some weight, I just didn't keep it off. So then it was anger at my body for, letting me down. Yeah.
So, and you said at your highest, you're at about 500 pounds, and you couldn't walk. What did you do?
Barely. Yeah. I mean, I was still able to walk, but, they were telling me I was going to have to get knee replacement surgery, and I needed to lose some weight, and, I was bone on bone, and they were just saying all these things to me, and, of course, telling me I was going to drop over, keel over from a heart attack or a stroke, or, just all kinds of things were really projected at me. So that's where, I would just do these desperate things, trying to lose some weight. And meanwhile, just judging the heck out of my body and, being angry, very angry. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, thank you. I know this is very vulnerable, and I'm really inspired by you, because I also know at one point something changed for you.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people are sitting on their edge of their seat going, okay, what changed?
What happened?
Yeah. So let's even just start with the beginning of the change, because I know there's some stuff that have followed, but what was the beginning of things changing for you?
Well, the beginning would be really just I don't want to be here anymore. This just sucks, basically. My life sucks, and what's the point? Was pretty much where I was. And, and I was miserable, and I'm like, I just don't know if I want to be here anymore. So that was, and at the same time, I was going to therapy. I was getting a little bit better. I'd found a therapist I liked. And after a while, I just was like, I'm just really tired of saying the same thing over and over again. Can we move on? But I just, there was just this, I didn't know what to do, right? So I was actually talking to my sister-in-law on the phone one day, and she was driving by a place that she's like, oh my God, they do Reiki classes here. And my whole body just was like, what? And I was like, okay, I've always kind of been interested in Reiki, so let me find out about it. And I went and had a session, and I was like, wow, this is kind of really peaceful. And I liked how I felt, and I wanted to learn more. So I took a Reiki class, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of neat. So I just kept doing that. And I had peace that I'd never really, it'd been so long, and I'm not even sure I'd really ever had it. So I became a Reiki master, and I was just kind of learning about some of these things. And then if I met somebody online who called me one day, and she did angel readings and different things. And she called me one day and said, I found this thing I think you might really like. And I was like, okay, sure, what's that? And she said, it's this thing called Access Bars. And where it's, in case you guys don't know, it's you put your hands on 32 different points on the head, and it releases stuck energy. And I was like, well, okay, cool, and I was like, I wonder if it's anything like Reiki. And I don't know, but I'll go check it out. And so I did. And from that, I was like, I sat in the car going, oh my God, I had, my mind wasn't telling me how horrible I was all the time. For the first time, and I don't even know when, there was, and I was like, holy moly, just think if everybody got their bars run, how different would the world be? That was my first, out of the gate, I want to learn more about it. And so I did. I went and took a class, and then just kept doing it. I was like, I would love to teach people about this. And so I became a bars instructor, and I just kept going. And every time I had a session, my body started to feel better, and I didn't have the constant headaches that I was having all the time. And it was interesting. One time when I was teaching a class, people were like, well, what changes have you seen? And I realized that without realizing it, that I no longer had migraines, which I would get migraines 2 or 3 times a month that would put me in bed for a couple of days. And, so my physical things really started changing. The body pains got a lot better. And so all of that. And then I was like, I want to find out more about the modality of what all of this is, which is through access consciousness. So I started taking other classes, and then just it opened up this thing that I always kind of thought maybe somewhere it existed. And I remember reading the book, Being You, Changing the World by Dr. Dane Here. And I gobbled it up. And yes, I used that as words literally, that was holy moly. this guy is talking about stuff that I always hoped, but I didn't know, but I knew, but he's putting it into words. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So that was the start of really changing things in my life. And that was about 8 years ago.
8 years ago. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, if you guys would like to learn more, please go to accessconsciousness.com. And also Being You, Changing the World, that book changed my life, my family's life. Yeah, changes multiple people's lives.
Amazing.
Cool. So how old is your son? You have a son, right?
He's how old is he now? He's 30. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys had him, and he was your only child?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Only child.
Yep.
Okay. And then you found Access Consciousness. You're starting to feel better and better. However, there was a key turning point for you.
Yeah.
And what was that? What did you choose?
There was. Yeah. So I said, I was getting better and better. And I still had a lot of like judgment, and I had become a facilitator, and I still was struggling with judgment of my body and how come I couldn't get, at that point I had released a couple of 100 pounds, and I couldn't get below like this certain size. And so then I was like, well, how can I be
what
a facilitator?
size was that?
It was like around 300 pounds. And okay. I was like, I can't. And even for me to talk about how much I weigh or how much I did weigh is like, I just never would put that. Like that was, you did not talk about it. So even when I told my husband how much I weighed, it was like this big thing, So
big secret.
Like, wow, look at me just like telling you guys how much I used to weigh. It's like, wow. So
you're doing great, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Where was I going? So the body thing was getting better, but I was having a lot of judgments, like how can I be a facilitator when I can't get my own stuff together? And here I am facilitating other people, and, I guess it's better, but it's not what it should be, and so I still was having some judgments there. And then I was like, well, I guess, I kind of had resigned myself to, well, you don't weigh 500 pounds anymore, and be freaking grateful for that. And it was a lot easier to walk. Okay, yes, I am totally grateful. And there was still that piece of judging. And why can't I? Like, that was kind of like, looking back on it now, it was really pervasive. And, even wondering, was any of that actually really even mine?
Okay, say more about that.
Yeah, we're also aware, you guys, and if you've listened to this show at all, that we've talked about that a lot. That because we think it, it's got to be ours. That's, I never knew that there was like, we're also psychic, and we pick up on thoughts, feelings, emotions. We know what somebody else is thinking. Like, I certainly know what was being projected at me when I would walk by somebody, and all the thoughts that people had, being a 500-pound woman. You hear a lot. You hear a lot of judgment. You hear, they say it out loud. They say it in their heads. Strangers come up to you and say, want you to do the latest and greatest thing that they might be selling, so there was all of that, that was not really very fun.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And that's like, if we could just get that we are psychic SpongeBobs and walking around
yeah.
absorbing everybody's stuff, you guys, we can just return it to sender. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to process yourself through it. Just be like, okay, this isn't mine, and turn to sender. It's one of our cornerstones tools in Access Consciousness. Yeah, because you don't have, you're super aware of everything, but it's not, most of the time it's not yours. Just like when she was 10 years old, your mom was telling you that, you were fat. And it just blows my mind still, because I'm like, you were 10. So, well, yeah. We're going to leave you guys on another cliffhanger. I know you guys want to hear the pivotal moment, but it is time for a break. So we're going to have to come right back, and then we'll tell you on the other side. So hang in there.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Imperfect Brilliance. I am your temporary host, Venus Castleberg, with Betsy McLoughlin, and we have this great cliffhanger. I know you've been hanging on. Welcome back, Betsy.
Thank you.
Yep. So what was the pivotal moment? What really changed for you? What happened?
Okay. So I had talked about, I was kind of resigned to what I thought was kind of just going to be the size I was, and be happy with how much you have, changed. And so I was having a little bit of difficulty walking, and it was really cold last winter, and the cold weather was affecting me. And I had actually gone to the south, and I found it was easier to walk. And then I came back here, and it was really cold, and it just exacerbated the pain and the stiffness. And one day I was trying to get out of a chair, and I thought, oh my God, I feel as old as my 90-year-old mother. And I just had this moment of total despair, and oh my God, and is this how my life is going to be with this pain and this stiffness? And I thought it was going to be better, and here it is coming back again. And then I just hold on a moment, really just stop the presses. What are you doing? And realized what I was thinking, and was like, you know what? No. No. And no. This is not going to be the rest of my life. I am not doing this. So that was my pivotal moment.
Okay. Well, cool. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people were like, okay, no, that's good. What happened next?
So what happened next was I had a major realization that I had totally not been listening to my body and really overriding her. And, she was, it's kind of like the dog who's not getting attention, or the pup, or the kid who's not getting attention, and they get louder and louder and louder, until you're finally like, what? Well, that was my body. Like, my body had been, and I was ignoring her. And she just got to the point where she basically was hitting me over the head with a 2x4. And so it's like, okay, so I just started having conversations with her and apologizing, saying, I'm so sorry that I have not been listening. And, you've got my attention, and what can I do now? And I'm actually going to listen to what you're telling me, and I'm not going to just keep being the one who's driving the bus by myself, because it's just not doing, I think, what either one of us really desire here. So let's try something different. And so that's what I did. And I started listening and asking questions.
Oh, awesome. Well, let's clarify something, because there might be somebody out there that goes, wait, hang on a second. You're talking like your body is separate from you. I thought they were the same thing. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, I had never really treated my body as, I definitely was kind of treating it as this thing I was dragging around. And so, yes, we have our bodies, and we are also infinite beings. And, so it was really this learning to have this communion with my body that I had kind of sometimes had, but most of the time it was fleeting, and it wasn't really there for very long. So it was really like, okay, I am not going to be treating you like this thing anymore, and actually including you in everything that I do. And that might, and there's probably a lot of people out there that's what they do, and that's like second nature for them. It was not for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. But how did you start to change that?
Well, really, again, I started looking at it thinking I would not treat anybody else in the whole entire world the way I've treated myself and my body. Mm-hmm. So it was, what can I do? Like, what can I do to make up for what I've done, and to, and not from a place of judgment. Because I knew that if I was going to judge the heck out of everything I've done or haven't done, I was going to create more of the same. So it's okay. We're gonna park judgment, in the next city or something. It's just not going to be part of my life anymore. And if it tries to sneak in, I'm like, no, no vacancy here. Yeah, and so really just like, so there's no judgment anymore, and for anything that I did create or didn't create, no matter what size I was, no matter what size I wasn't, what I ate, what I didn't eat, I just was like, no more of any of that, because this is what has created this lifetime of struggle for you, and you've got to do something different. Your body is screaming at you to do something different, and you can choose to listen, or you can choose to just keep going down this path that wasn't working. So what you going to choose, girl?
I'm sure there's nobody else out there right now that can relate. Cool. So let's say, I'm sure there's people now that are like, okay, I can get the kind of not judging, but you're talking about like talking to your body. You're chatting with your body. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. And it really, like if you start to talk to your body like your best friend and be like, hi, hi. That's really, I do that. It's like, hi, hi. And what, and learning how to talk to my body and hear what she's asking for, which might be very different from what I'm asking for. And I'm still learning that. I'm certainly not, always get it right. But how did my body tell me things over the years? Well, now I know, like, if I would eat something and then my stomach would get upset, is my body telling me maybe it wasn't the thing that she really enjoyed eating? Oh, maybe so. So it's really just asking questions and telling. And I've also said to my body, you know what? We don't always speak the same language, so sometimes I don't get what you're trying to tell me. And could you maybe show me in a different way? So it's really learning how to have this communication. And it's really foreign. I never did this before. But what I'm finding is that I get awarenesses. I get hits of something. And I just threw out all the things that I had been told or had learned about eating, what you're supposed to eat, when you eat. And I was just, okay, body, show me. What would you like? What would you like to eat? What would you like to drink? Do you want to drink? Do you want to eat? And just kept saying, body, show me. And I still do. What would you like? And there might be times I'm like, I would really like this. And my body's kind of like, I'm like, all right. So if I choose to have something and my body doesn't really want it, okay, well then how could it be ease? So it's constantly having this communion and communication with her. And I'm still learning.
Right. Well, it's an ongoing journey for sure.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that your body talks to you? Because I know, like, some people are like, well, does she actually speak? Or, how do you get clear on what she's asking for?
Well, I do ask questions. Sometimes it might be out loud or, a lot of times it's just in my head, and then even when my stomach is growling, it's like, body, are we hungry? Do you require water? Are you telling me something here? What's required? And if I don't get an answer, then I just keep asking questions. And so that's one of the ways that I have learned to not override what I know, because I was really, really good at ignoring and overriding and pretending that I didn't know.
Cool. Wow. So, all right. So that was last winter. And last winter, when this pivotal point, you said you were around 300.
Yeah, I think I was like 320, 330, something like that. And I am now, for the first time in I don't even know how long, I'm under 200 pounds, which is just, for me, like, just this, I never thought it was going to happen. I'm smaller than my husband, which is another thing. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I weigh less than you do. So it's and so in the talking to my body and being like, okay, you're the boss. I'm firing myself as the boss of this, and let's have a co-creation here. It became something I never in a million, if you had told me, here's $1 million and it's going to be easy, I would have been like, you're insane. And that's exactly what's happened. It has become easy to, when I don't force anything on my body anymore. And it just like started melting off my body. And it's like this beautiful magic that, again, I could never have predicted in a million years would happen for me.
That's beautiful. And I've even seen like pictures of you like trying on some of your old clothes that you can wrap around yourself twice now. And like what a joyful journey. And this is, thank you so much, Betsy, because really, and I love what you just said, like it really can be easy, guys. And I know that a lot of people, we've all struggled with body stuff in one way or another, whether, you know, my lifetime struggle's been skin stuff, and, you know, so it doesn't matter. But there is, if you really desire to have communion and to change something, it really can be easy. And the first step is probably getting out of the judgment and just not judging wherever you are and whatever's happening for you. So beautifully said. Well, and we have another little gem inside of this, because I know some of you are going, how do I do this? And Betsy is going to be sharing some of her tips and tricks and kind of just helping walk you through some ways of beginning to talk to your body, to get out of judgment. She's going to do a 5-day challenge called Body Chat, Are You Listening? And it's going to be April 7th through the 11th. And yeah, if you're somebody out there that you've had any struggles with your body, it doesn't have to just be weight. It could be anything going on with your body that just has you feel like you're at odds with it all the time. I highly recommend doing this challenge with Betsy. And yeah, she's just such a gentle soul and will share everything that she could possibly can to help you get to that communion that maybe you've been looking for all this time.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah, and you're right. You don't have to, you know, there's plenty of people who might not have that particular struggle that I had, but there's a lot of different things that, you know, we can change and we can create with our bodies. And gosh, it's funny, I have the TV on in the background, and right now there's like this thing being plastered all over the TV about a weight loss program, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, there would have been a time when I would have like, oh, let me call them and find out about this program. And you know, it's really, and not to say that they don't work. I'm not dissing any of it. It's just like what works for you. And that's where I learned, that's what I finally was like, okay, this is what works for me. And, you know, having the communion with my body is just, it's such a gift, and it goes so far beyond the size of my body. It's like it permeates every part of my life, and it just like keeps getting greater and greater and greater and more ease. And, you know, how does it get even better than that, right? Oh, for sure. For sure. Yes. Well, I love it. I mean, really, really, truly inspiring. What an awe to be like, folks, just even listening to that, like from 500 pounds, not being in a wheelchair at times, not being able to walk, and to, you know, being under 200 pounds. I guess you got to go shopping and get some new clothes. How fun was that? Yes, it is. It really is fun. So, Betsy, do you have any parting words, anything that you'd really like to encourage people if they're struggling with their body right now in any way? Yeah. What would you like to say to them? Yes. So really, truly, what if you started just having a conversation with your body? And for me, like the piece of not judging whatever you've done or haven't done was so key. And, you know, so no matter where you are right now, what could you create with your body? You know, could you have a little more kindness? Could you start asking questions, you know, like, and being willing to invite your body to co-create with you in this journey that is your life. Yeah. And that really is it. It's like we've chosen to have this body in this lifetime as we travel through. And what if we could just have that so much more ease, communion, joy, fun? What if, I might have said a curse word. You can actually have fun in your body. Joy, right? No. Yeah. Yeah. And that's awesome. And that is, the joy that now, it's like, it doesn't matter what, I mean, it isn't about my size. It's about having the communion with my body. And when I let go of all the things that I thought being a certain size or number was going to be, and it's like, oh my gosh. And so that's what I'm saying. Wherever you are, what could you create now?
Right.
Venus, thank
awesome.
you.
Oh, thank you, honey. This has been such a joy, and I hope everybody got, I'm inspired. I hope everybody else is inspired too.
Thank you. Have a great week, everybody.